Is there any update on the scoreboard, e.g. goal scorers now? So obviously the scoreboard at the moment is only being used on a minimal basis, given the constraints and obviously it's aged quite a bit. Any update on that one?
So again, we want to use that scoreboard, possibly, update results, etc., but also use it for sponsors as well and promotions on that. In fact, on Tuesday night, a couple of guys who came in and we've been working well with Arena from Torquay. They brought a couple of guys in who work on some of those aspects and they've been looking at it as well. So they're putting in some quotes. We've got some other people who've put in quotes as well. So we are keen. Again, it's about priorities and it's about the cash for something like that. It's a fairly old system, my understanding is, what the software's used to use it, whether you need the brand new or whether we update what we've got at the moment. But of course, it would be a massive asset, again, for the club to have that on match days in terms of sponsorship, promotioning, things for stuff like boots and laces and the Cove, etc., off-season activities. So we are aware of it and it's something that we want to move forward.
Touching on now the football side of things. Next question. What are the reasons why we have not increased the squad size since January?
Well, budget is probably the quick and easy answer to that. But it's also operating a squad that Paul particularly feels is optimum. For him, just quantity doesn't necessarily mean quality. And we've increased the playing budget probably by just over 20% since the season started. And I think the additions that have been made to the squad, I think everyone would universally recognise have improved the quality of the squad enormously. The squad numbers that we've got are such that if you have a little run on injury, suddenly you feel a little bit thin. But I'd also remind people of the recruitment process, which only started in June, and we had a window of about 5 or 6 weeks to recruit an entire squad. And that's going to be a bit of a lottery based on availability of people at that point. So I think that the short answer to that question is, one is budget, but secondly, I think Paul just doesn't want to fill the squad with any players he wants them to be the right players that will fit to his, that will gel with the rest of the squad, but also that will fill. We want to put square pegs in square holes, and not just improve squad numbers just for the sake of it.
Yeah, and just giving a bit more specifics there. Bringing in players like Jordan Young, bringing in players like Matt J, Zanzala, etc. We have brought in some good creative talent within more or less our playing budget, plus what Michael said, a bit more, 20% on top. Dom, bringing in players into squads doesn't always help the harmony of the squad as well, because Paul's got to manage that, especially if they're a player who can make a difference, because they're going to want, obviously, minutes on the pitch. I think it's fair to say, without being too open, that there are areas that we do want to improve with the squad, but it's getting the right players. And probably at this time of the season, everyone's got something to play for, teams, in terms of relegation, where they're going to be next season and promotion. So, but, Paul's put together 21 players, one player signed on at the start of the season. He's moved players out on loan, brought other players in. He's done an incredible job. I mean, it is quite incredible when you look at his daily work with agents, working with the players, then going training, etc., then motivating them for games, the away trips, everything. It's fantastic work that he's done this year. Quite incredible. I was quite naive in terms of the amount of work that he'd have to do, and the back, in terms of off the field work, in terms of getting these players in, etc. So I think in terms of the squad size, I don't think there's too much of a problem. Quality, I think any manager would want more quality for their team. I think they would look at that. But I think in terms of the squad, they've all contributed. We had that injury period where the players contributed to that. Ed played really, really well at the back, etc. And other players came in, etc. And we've got a good balance. We've got a good balance now of young and some, more mature players. And we're seeing some really spirited performances, a lot of character as well with the side. And it's going to be really, really interesting into the season, as we all know. So I think if a player comes in, I'm sure the Bryn Consortium will support Paul with what he needs to do, but it has to be the right player, and again, it has to make a difference to what we believe it will. So, for example, the Match A thing was a good investment. Matt's got, great ability, a few leagues higher, brings a lot of authority in that final third, can bring on other players. We've seen him, act quite maturely in certain games in terms of holding the ball up, etc. So, we're trying to do that all the time. Think about what's best for this side in terms of getting us the best chance of promotion, but also, if we do go to the National League, giving us a good start, the remnants of a good team for then Paul to maybe look at further investment next season.
But looking more perhaps at the attendance angle, I think it's definitely worth asking. Can you confirm that because of the increase in crowds over the budgeted figure, that the board would fund these additional signings if we can source the right players?
So there's a couple of issues, and I know Michael's probably got some opinion on this as well. But if you look at the actual average attendances, have been very, very good this season, and our budgets were worked on in terms of the revenues that we're getting in. Something that we are looking into is the price per ticket average, which seems to be slightly less than we were expecting when we first did the budgeting. I think we were looking at 11, 12, and it's ended up being near 10. One thing we should be aware to all supporters is we did say we wanted to bring this inclusiveness to the community when we took over the club. And what we've done is we've done a lot of promotions with the community days, NHS, council. So it's not uncommon for us on match days to have 500-600 fans, maybe even more, where we've given them free tickets to schools and things like that to encourage young supporters to come in, and hopefully they're the future of the club. So we have been doing a lot of promotions on that. So the actual capacities that we've been getting, we are getting capacities higher than last season, but I think fans have got to be aware as well that we are doing a lot of promotions to try and get more younger people watching the game, being more engaging with the community, and really making it a hub of fun on a Saturday or Tuesday. So that's just something to be aware of.
That increase in attendance, I don't know what our average is now in the league this season, but it must be north of 3,500 now. And so we based on the historic data that we got. So if you remember a few things, so we dropped the £2 surcharge if you pay on the gate. Now something like an average £400 or £500 pay on the gate. So you do the maths there. That's a couple of grand per game times 23. So that's on a like-for-like basis last year. There's already a deficit. We have a huge increase in season tickets. But what that means is that the yield per game drops down because built in the season ticket is a discount. We have deliberately gone out to engage in with increase our community and fan engagement, because that's the only way that we can. That's the tide that lifts all boats. If we get more of the community coming to enjoy their experience of being a Torquay United fan, creating new fans. And so what we've seen when we've looked at the data, we sell as a percentage of our ticket pie, we've sold far more concessions as a percentage this year, and those discounts on concessions are deliberately attractive because we want to attract families. We want to sell family tickets, so mum, dad, brother and sister come. So I think what that's a more long-winded way of saying what Mark said at the beginning, is that our yield has dropped. So our yield is somewhere around £10, where when we first budgeted, we thought that would be closer to probably 11.5 or 12. So the higher increased attendances has not all fallen through into the a proportionate amount increase in revenue. And people have probably seen that we've, on many games this season, we filled the Wallens away end, and those have been free community tickets. And we have an ongoing programme where we engage with certain cohorts of the community. And this is a deliberate plan. That's a loss leader. There is some secondary spend that comes with that, obviously, because they will perhaps pop into Boots and Laces or the Goals Nest, or they might they'll buy merchandise in the shop, and they might buy food and beverage from the kiosk. But this is deliberate. This is a really good investment for us. And also we think that gives us an edge in performance on the pitch, and notwithstanding the Hampton game, and I think we're all pretty disappointed, not least Paul and not least the players themselves, with how we performed against Salisbury on Tuesday night. But it makes a massive difference. I know that Paul and the players say it all the time, but there's a huge difference when you've got nearly 4,000 people in here than you've got 2,300 or whatever that we had on average last year.
Yeah, the average last year, 2,500. Season tickets were 1,100 up to about 1,600, so about 40% up on season tickets. But I would say generally tickets, taking out the freebies, were probably up by about 20%. So where you see crowds of 3,600, 3,700, probably 20% of that is up. So maybe about 3,100, something like that. And then the others are freebies that are coming with them. So for example, we had 4,025 that was said on Tuesday. Probably quite a high proportion of that, maybe 800 even on the community side of things. It is significant, but it is encouraging that people are turning up and coming to, and we hopefully will see the benefit of that next season.
The other thing, we'll lay this out in the fans forum, but the cost per match. So if you've got another 1,000 fans in here that you didn't otherwise have, there are additional costs attached to that. You need under SAG guidelines and stuff. We need more stewarding. We need more this, more that, and so there's some costs that come with increased attendances. The reason why it's self-evidently fantastic that we're having such great attendances is that is impacting on the value we're delivering to sponsorship. So as we think about our sponsorship inventory next year, how we're pricing our sponsorship packages, we're able to leverage those better numbers. So I think we're overperforming in delivering value for money for sponsors this year on the back of our crowds, on the back of our other marketing and engagement activities with audiences. But I think this will have a hugely beneficial effect next year in the way that we can drive additional sponsorship revenue on the back of these crowds. And it's important that we keep, the match day experience and the way the team performs is also important to have those fans coming back, because we hope that those fans that were casual fans become regular fans, and then we translate regular fans into season ticket holders, etc. And that's how we build brick by brick.
Just a couple more to go, if I can trouble you with these. We got very interesting question here again. Are there any plans for Torquay United to become a part-time outfit at any time in the future? So I know that was asked a lot last summer. Let's ask it again.
So we're what you call a hybrid now. So I think out of 22 players, 3 or 4 are technically part-time. But the short answer is are we going to go a fully part-time? No. I don't think that is a viable route to get into the English Football League. Is why we're still playing regional football. Does it suit us? And I don't want to revisit. I think we've talked about this part-time, full-time thing. And the reality is that the difference between a part-time and a full-time contract is 1 2-hour training session a week. And so that's the reality. And at our level is that you can probably pound for pound get higher quality players that also have other jobs. They can't afford to become full-time professional footballers because they run a business or they're lawyers or whatever they are. And so they can't afford to be a full-time footballer. But they're super high-quality players that could play, but not just at our level, but other higher levels. So I think this hybrid approach is commensurate and suits this level of football at the moment. As I said, you've got 4 out of 22, and I don't think anyone has an issue with that, not least Paul, I think.
Again, great credit to Paul with the budget, because these sort of questions we discussed at length with the takeover about part-time. We discussed which players, etc., and he's managed that playing squad extremely well, brought in the right players, full-time players, etc., and there's no plans to go back on that. But great credit to him for getting those players in, getting them within those budgets. And like Michael correctly said, there's 3 or 4, and it's not necessarily because we haven't offered them full-time contracts. The fact that they have other roles, other businesses, etc., and it just doesn't fit in with their current lifestyle, etc. But that might change next season, depending on where we are, etc. But in terms of moving forward, we're a full-time team.
The final question, I think, is a great way to round things off. Are you happy with our performance on the pitch so far this season?
Look, everyone knows that I still have a spirit with this club that something's going to happen this season, whether we go up through the playoffs or automatically go up. I think for me, it's been a big learning curve in terms of where we were at Christmas, where we are now, how long the season's been. Injuries have played their part a little bit. Other clubs who've got experience making runs at this point in the season, But I might add, we're making a run now. Okay, admittedly, Tuesday we'd love to have got 3 points, but we got a point, and we might look at that as being a good point against Salisbury. All teams are fighting at this point of the season, so there's everything to play for. And you look at games that you just don't know what's going to happen with the game. All the teams that are up there could be playing against the side mid-table, and then mid-table start saying, well, we'll throw some players out there who haven't played this season because we've got nothing to play for. Suddenly they start playing for contracts and they get a result. So there's so many things that can happen in the game of football. We all know that. Overall, I'm ecstatic the way the foundations of the football club are. I mentioned it before in our conversation about the supporters, the sponsors, the trust, the consortium, the players. Everybody is working so hard at this football club, and there's smiles on people's faces, and everyone is really happy. That's the first thing. It's fantastic that we've got a football club that is moving in the correct direction and together. The second part is we've now got the remnants of a very, very good young side, and something that I don't know whether it's been well advertised. Near enough every contract that Paul has given to players above a year, they're all performing. So we're in a great position in terms of where we are next season. He's really managed that really, really well. So I think we've got a great side. I still believe that anything can happen on any day. I don't know what's going to happen to the end of this season. There's everything to play for. I think somebody said we've got 8 cup finals. It was 10 cup finals a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be a hard game all the way through. But yeah, very, very happy. Obviously, from our point of view, it'd be lovely to go up, in the playoffs or something like that. The playoff final would be fantastic. I think there's this sort of idea that because our away form has not been as good as our home form, that if we went away, that would be a problem and people would lose confidence that maybe we could go up in playoffs. Look at Liverpool against Paris Saint-Germain. Look at us against Salisbury. Anything can happen. Once you get past that 30-minute stage and the away team is in the game, the pressure starts coming onto the home side who have an expectation from the fans that they're going to get through. I really, really believe in this team. They've shown a lot of character, and nothing would surprise me. So, yeah, very, very good. I just wish we can have that dinner and award celebration and party with us looking at each other and, us going up. That'd be fantastic because that's what the fans deserve.
We're fans, right? So I find match days horrible. I used to love watching us play, and I'm awful. You ask the lads, we have to sit in the director's box because we have to, commune with the other fellow directors and our sponsors and all of that. And which I don't like watching games from behind the goal. I've never watched matches from behind the goal. We used to have a season ticket at Bristol's. But so many times this season I spent the last 10 minutes in the corridor peeping around the corner because I can't watch it. And we're fans too, remember. So it ruins our weekend when we don't win or we draw because we've given it away in the last minute. But I kind of on a pragmatic from a board perspective is we talk to the National League a lot because we're learning and we want to understand how we should think about a number of things. And so I think that our league position right now is exactly where our budget is. So our league, our budget in comparison with other teams in the league is exactly where we are in the actual league. I think that probably at the turn of the new year we were slightly performing ahead of expectations. And I think we've fallen back a bit and we're now on expectations. And now we're going into the crapshoot that is the last 8 games of the season, and anything could happen. Anything could happen, and particularly in our league. Only Worthing are on 2 points per game, which is crazy, really, when you think about it. What I like about the team is the mantra that Paul's tried to instill from the day on: is you win or you shed blood trying. And I think that none of us, I'm speaking as a fan, but also as a board member, can doubt the commitment levels of our team. And they will run through walls, and no one can ever accuse this team of not trying. What's going to be interesting with a relatively youthful team is how mentally resilient they are in the next 8 games. And then again, if we are in a playoff situation, which is probable at the moment, is how resilient they are in effectively a knockout competition. We'll see, and it'll certainly inform us kind of what happens going forward for next season. But I say I'm delighted with the character of this team. We kick every ball and we feel exactly how fans do, which is we've only lost 6 times this season, so I haven't had too many, but some of the draws we've had felt like losses. and we all know which ones they are. And it ruins the weekend. I feel kind of slightly nauseous at the end of most games especially if we've
we've lost the least number of games, I think, of the top sides that are up there. We've drawn a lot, which does give fans a lot of encouragement in terms of playoffs by playing those top sides. We've got a great record against the top sides, and Michael's right; it does consume you, And honestly, when you're up here, what I try and do on match days, I try and talk to all the sponsors, talk to Paul before the game. And then I'll go around, talk to people on the streets, and you go to the goals nest, and then let's say you get a result that you're not expecting. To see the players as well, their faces. So you're picking them up, and then Paul's really, really disappointed as well at times, It's really difficult. Everyone is giving their heart to get us where we can be. And, I think we've got to a stage now where something is going to happen. It's an epitome, as I say, of something that's going to happen. And I think we're very, very proud of everybody. They've all literally bought into this whole thing. They're all stakeholders in this whole process of trying to get Torquay at the best position they can. And I'm excited about the playoffs, although I agree with Michael, it's very, very hard to sometimes watch. You feel almost like sick, because of pressure, and you're thinking about, you just want to get over the line, and you're feeling for them as well. A lot of the time I'm putting my eyes, I'm looking at the pitch, but I'm looking over at the pop side as well, and you see them all. And something I would say as well, and this is no criticism, I thought Tuesday we were quite quiet. I really want, we've got 3 home games left, something like that. Really, let's push it really hard, with the fans, and make it really difficult for sides to come here, because ultimately we want to get to the best playoff position that we can, as high up as we can, with the team that we play. So the fans, they've given us so much this season, but let's do one last push and give as much support to Paul and the team over the next few games at home.
And I think Paul and the lads, we got to know the lads. It's a real sense of togetherness here at the club again. So we feel like a big family, and I think the crowds we've been getting have been extraordinary, and
away,
and away is even
incredible.
More so. 250 or so at Tonbridge. Oh, that was a hell of a trek. But I know that Paul and the lads know they owe it to our fans. They've got to be one of the most committed, loyal, best fans in non-league to perform for them, and I think they will all say on Tuesday that they let not just themselves down, but they let the fans down, because they had nothing to grab hold of on Tuesday. But listen, it's been quite the journey this year. It's not over, and we're now at the exciting business end of it. And I think we'll stick together, and everyone's focused. And what will be will be. I don't know. So I've got this deep sense of there's been so much that's happened over the last 12 months that felt that we're destined to do something special, and I don't know if it's going to be this year, but we're not far away, and so let's strap ourselves in and enjoy the ride. It's going to be fun.
You both said as die-hard supporters, you find a bit of a test in the boardroom, perhaps in the last 4 games of the season we might see over on the pop side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we go away, it's actually quite strange, because when we're with the other directors, we always say, we're just going to go in with the fans, because we enjoy being with the fans. So, yeah, I would love that. Yeah, definitely.
As long as there's a sick bucket nearby, I think fine.
Easy access.
Well, that does bring us to the end of the Chairman's Chat. We'd like to thank you both for answering all of those submissions, and of course thank the Yellow Army for taking the time to give us all those questions, and there'll be more details on the upcoming fans forum in the very near future. But for now, Michael, Mark, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dom.
Thanks for having us.